Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I did it. I did it. What are you talking about, Eric? Oh, I freaking did it. Oh, I freaking did it. I don't know why I freaking did it, but I freaking did it because I freaking wanted to, and I don't know freaking why. An important announcement that I want to make regarding the channel, regarding my profession and everything. For those of you who know, I run a home business with my wife, but we'll get to that at the end. I did it. Yeah, just like the title says, take a look. I built a MAM that creates 4 belts, 4 full belts of shapes. I mean, look at that. That is madness. Madness, I tell you. Why? Why did I do it? Because I can. Because I could. Okay? Now here's the crazy thing. So, not only did I make a 4 full belt MAM, I also did it in conjunction with the 2 belt MAM that already exists, that you've all have already seen. And, you know, the performance, there's a little, as you can see, there's a little bit of a performance lag. Oh, we're about to hit, yep, right. There it is. Boom, there's the flush. And watch as all those hundreds and hundreds of shapes per storage unit go pouring into the hub. And we should see it change here shortly. 122 per second, that's what's required. That's the requirement, but look, it's not registering yet. Look how long it's taking to register. Do you see that? I mean, we were at 350 in these storage units, and it's down below 200. Boom, level 500, there it is. But it took almost 200 shapes per lane. It took basically 1,600 shapes pouring from these devices to finally kick that in. And I think that time gets longer and longer as this shape per second requirement goes up. It's 122 per second. That's what's required right now. And I think the closer that threshold, or the higher that threshold gets, I think the longer it takes for the computer, for the hub to register that, oh, hey, yeah, I guess you've achieved that rate. I guess I should move you up to the next level. So here was my train of thought, is that if 2 does pretty well, it doesn't fill these things up very fast, but it does fill them up, or it does, I don't say fill them up, but it does put a lot inside of them. So, you know, it would help then if during the same amount of time, however long it takes for this trigger unit, which I've expanded a little bit, I've expanded the trigger lane, and for as long as that takes to fill up, we could get more shapes into the storage units in a shorter amount of time than we would otherwise be able to do. And if we can get a bunch of them in there, then that'll more than guarantee that the higher we get, the higher the rate that's required, that we would be able to achieve it. I mean, in reality, who knows? Maybe, I mean, we all know that each of these lanes, right? Let's see, what's the rate right now? Is 21 items per second. How about that? That's the rate at which we can deliver stuff to the hub. 21 items per second per lane, which, if my math is not failing me, let's see, so that's 320 plus 16, so 336, can it be? 336 units per second is what we're going to deliver into the hub. That's way above the 122, but for whatever reason, it just takes a long time to reach that. And it might take more and more and longer flushes. You know, we know in our hearts that if we just flush all 16 into the hub for a given amount of time, let's say 1 second, we know at some point the computer is going to say, oh, yeah, that was 336, right? I guess. But what happens if we flush it and the flush goes, you know, short? Will the computer pick up on it? I don't know, and I don't want to take that chance. I just want this thing to chew through the levels. So I went ahead and made a 4-belt MAM. There it is. 4 belts. Takes a little while to pick up, but there's nothing particularly revolutionary about it. Now, first to review, let's take a look at the old one. And the old one is not much different than the new one. Let's just take a look. If y'all remember, we've got 16 lanes, okay? And notice something I did. Somebody brought up in the last episode in the comments something about, well, you know, what you might try, you might be able to, see, there's this, every time it saves, that's when you get the worst lag. You might be able to save time if you use a color mixer. Well, there is a color mixer right there. Here's an automatic color mixer. You all saw it in the previous video. So that would make it 2 videos ago. 2 videos ago, somebody brought up the automatic color mixer and says it might save time. Well, just to prove the point, I decided to replace one lane of the MAM 3.0 with an automatic color mixer, and it keeps up handsomely. It does an awesome job. But previously, again, each of these, now the remaining 3, may draw upon more than one color at a time. Now each lane of color is capable of supplying all of the lanes that build a single layer. So that's 4 lanes. Each color can supply 4 lanes, and it's doing it. But here I've got one dedicated color mixer for this one lane just to make sure it gets the color it needs. I think that's overkill. But it was fun. It was fun to do it, and it was a good proof of concept, and so we had a machine that makes 2 complete lanes of shapes. Very cool. Okay, is this thing dumping yet? Has it started to dump? No, it hasn't. It will very shortly. I just love to watch the flush. Yep, and click, boom, there it goes. Flush time. And notice I've got the blueprint shapes turned off for the time being, just because we've got 12 million of them. 12.3 million. We don't need to run them anymore if it bogs the PC down. So we're just going to put the kibosh on that for the time being. And see, look how long it takes to get to the next level. These things, they're going to be down past 100 or 200. They're going to be down past 2. There it is. About 180 out of 350 were left in these storage units before it finally kicked on. So there was each one was dumping 200. So what's that? 10 seconds. So each one, yeah, it was about 200 shapes. So that means it was taking about 10 seconds for this thing to finally register that that was 21 seconds, or that was 122 per second. So that's pretty crazy. Now, somebody told me in the comments that actually it caps at 200. I don't know how true it is, but damn it, we're going to find out. Oh, okay, so we talked about this. I want to show you guys something. So I did a thing. In theory, these automatic color mixers will have some idle time. And that idle time comes when, let's see, if we go to our information, and this is the layer, the first layer that this color mixer feeds. Now, right now, it's got red and yellow in the layer, so this is either going to be producing red or yellow. But if that lane requires no color, let's say it's one of these lanes right here. So what we could theoretically do, let's see, climb in here. Now, this has its own color buffer. You see that? It's got its own color buffer. Right now, they're all full. But after a very taxing shape building session, they could be drained. Okay, at least one color could be drained. So what I decided to do was, when the color mixer is not needed for mixing color, it's not being called by the hub to mix a color. It's being told that, hey, you're not needed because the shape that we need is not colored. So what is this thing left to do? Sit idle? It could. We could have it sit and do nothing, but I decided to do something a little bit different. I created this circuit up here. Look at this. So what this is a clock. This is a timer circuit of sorts. And what it does is it sends a signal to the machine, to the painting machine. And every time the paint passes through one of these gauges, it sets off the 1-0. It sets off the digital output of that gauge. Okay, so right now, no paint's passing through it, so this is producing no signal. Paint's passing through this one, so it's sending out a 1 signal. And I attach that 1 signal to a transistor. And behind that transistor is a white, or a color, okay? Not specific to this one, but all of them. I've got all 7 colors represented here. All 7 possible mixing recipes are represented. So this paint just goes back and forth, tripping each one of these things off. As it does so, so basically this thing is sending a constantly changing signal, okay? And every time the paint passes through this, it finishes passing through here, the one previous. And then it goes to the next one. And then once it hits this one right here to trigger the blue, it will be done passing through the green. And it just keeps going back and forth, sending out this repeating signal, constantly changing signal. Now notice how it turns red. We're going to get to that because that is actually an issue. So as it goes through, it just sends out this changing signal. So anytime this thing is idle, it sends a signal to the painter, okay? But how does the painter know that it's idle? Notice it comes in here. Now the painter is being given a signal, but what signal is it being given? It is currently being given a signal. See, it's producing yellow. It's giving a yellow signal, and that yellow signal comes from... I know this is such useless circuits, but this was fun. This was a good exercise. I enjoyed this a lot. It's pointless, but it's fun. Sometimes you just got to do things to prove a point. It's kind of cool. So this is producing a yellow signal. Oh, you know what? I don't like that. I don't like this jiggy right here. I like to make things look neat. Okay, there we go. Right there. That looks better. No useless paths. Okay, so in order to make this work, so we've got 2 possible signals coming into this machine. The signal from our little paint clock, our little paint changing clock. Then, of course, the signal coming in from the... what's this right here? Oh, right here. That's... this. Okay, that's important. We're going to get to that. So the signal coming in from the hub obviously has priority. If this thing is needed to make something for the hub, that gets priority. So we actually had to set up this little circuit, basically a priority signal override. I don't know what else to call it, but we're going to call it a signal override circuit, which, again, another fun one. So this circuit comes in, or this signal comes in, and it's the yellow from the hub. And notice, so what it does, here's the signal coming in from the clock, from the color-changing clock, which is basically telling this thing what to do in its idle time. Well, this signal basically has to somehow say to the color machine, hey, ignore that signal. You have a job to do. So don't just be making colors willy-nilly. Now, the idea behind making those colors was they would go back and forth, making the different colors, topping off these storage units. Okay, what's coming in this time? So now it's a green circuit. Okay, so it's still needed for a green circuit. Is it really, though? Oh, but... oh, look at that. Okay, here we go. So it's not needed. If we look at the input, it is a null signal, which means it's not needed. The upper right one, you can see it is gray, so it's not needed. So now the hub has basically just told this machine, hey, you're not needed right now, so you can just start going back and forth making different colors. So the next one that it makes should be yellow. We should see that happen very soon. Right there, there's the yellow. And now it's going to start pumping green. There we go, making the yellow. It's going back and forth. So what happens is, normally this signal comes from the hub. It would be on, and it would go through this transistor right here. Really, the real junction right here, right this spot right there, where it splits. That feeds the hub signal to the machine. Okay, and when a signal is present, the signal feeds itself. You see what I'm saying? It's self-feeding. Because as soon as this comes on, the signal comes on, it does 2 things. The hub activates the transistor, and when the transistor turns on, the presence of a signal will turn the transistor on, and basically the signal sends itself to the hub. But it also goes through this NOT gate to turn off the transistor that's feeding the clock, the color-changing clock, to the shape color mixer. So this thing does 2 things. Actually 3. It turns off the incoming signal from the clock. It turns on the signal from the hub, which is itself, if that makes sense. And then, of course, it acts as the incoming priority signal and feeds the hub. So, sounds like a plan. So this thing is busy making other colors, topping off the hub as needed. Oh, did we get a change? Did we get a change? So why is it sending red? Why is it sending red? I'm not quite sure why it's doing that. And then it's sending green. Okay, because this... Okay, that shouldn't be there. That shouldn't actually be connected. So, what should happen... Oh, by the way, in this circuit right here, this is the circuit that... Okay, here comes the gray signal right here. This is the circuit that turns that gray signal into a null signal. So if you can kind of see how that works, there's a comparator that compares the incoming gray with the constant signal output, which is also gray, and it says, oh, it matches. I'm going to turn on this transistor, but that signal goes through a NOT gate, and the NOT says, oh, that signal is going to turn into a nothing. So basically, what happens is, when this matches, when the gray matches the gray, the transistor is off. When it's anything but a match, this NOT gate turns the transistor on and allows the signal to come from the hub. So the essential thing you need to know about this circuit is that as long as it's anything but gray, this transistor will operate. In the presence of gray, it will not operate. So the signal goes away, and now there's no priority signal coming in, and it gives deference to the color changing clock. All right? But, okay, this right here should not be on. The only thing that it should do, this should actually... Let's do a thing right here. Let's see, where's this color right here? It's still gray. So let's do a thing. I'm actually going to take this wire, bring it back over here so we can have some space, and then we are going to take the output of this wire, which is nothing right now, and put it just like that. So that way the only color coming out of here is what the hub requires. We were actually setting it up so that because of that connection, I was basically saying, oh yeah, while you're making those colors, just to top them off, by the way, go ahead and feed them to the color machine, to the MAM. We don't need to do that. I missed that before. So there we go. Now I told you we'd say something about this clock. I want to show you something. Notice the problem that this clock is having. You see it? What happens in this game, for some reason, when you have things go around in a belt like this, it might be these gauges that are doing it, but it starts to stretch out the convoy of color bits. Do you see it? There's gaps in between them. And the longer that gets, then that means that as the first color bit starts going through this gauge right here, the last one hasn't yet fully passed this gauge, which creates the conflicting red signal that we're seeing now and again. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to allow this thing to compress. Now look how far it travels to compress. Do you see that? The last one traveled quite a ways. So now let's go ahead and fix that. And now it'll stay compressed for a little while, and then it'll be a problem again. But I want to show you something. So there you go. There's a circuit. Again, some of this stuff is just so useless. I mean, they don't have to do this. You totally don't have to do this. I was just playing around with electronics. So, yeah. So we've got a signal prioritizer here, an override, a signal override. I think that's cool. Okay, now the blue's coming in. Okay, the comparator is checking the cyan against the gray, and lo and behold, it does not match. And because it doesn't match, it sends a null signal to the NOT gate, and the NOT gate says, oh, I'm not receiving a signal, therefore I will send out a signal. I'll send out a 1. And that opens the transistor, which sends the cyan signal into our circuit override, into our signal override. And you can see the cyan signal is feeding itself. It's turning itself on, and it's turning the incoming, which is it's also cyan at the moment. It's turning that one off. So, okay, we caught that at a very unfortunate moment. Now, if we wait carefully, that's going to change. That incoming signal should change. You can make you can make that inner, up there it goes, change to white. You can add loops to this if you like, and even add more paint and make the intervals longer. That's how that would work. You could do that if you wanted. No, nothing that says you can't. I just, you know, tried to make them as evenly spaced as I could. So now it's sending cyan through here, topping off the storage unit as cyan is being called for by the hub. Now you'll notice too that the cyan is being made at the rate of a full belt, but it's not being called for at the rate of a full belt. Can we see that for a moment? Can we actually check that out? What if we slap a gauge on there? I could see that there's wires behind it and I don't want to interfere with them. Okay, yeah, see, I didn't want to put that right there. Okay, so the gauge, if we look at that paint, I mean, what is that? It's maybe 6. I'm guessing it's going to go down to about 5.5. I'm guessing it's going to be about a quarter of what the full belt is capable of delivering. I'm thinking it's going to be about 5.5. Just my guess. So there we go. We can see that the full belt capacity of this color machine is more than going to keep up with the demand placed on it. So that's pretty cool. So let's now take a look at this 4-belt MAM. Oh, can I just say something too? A lot of people have been asking me whether or not this machine can create hanging layer shapes. And a lot of people ask me, well, why doesn't it create hanging layer shapes? That would indeed be the ultimate machine, wouldn't it? And the answer is it cannot. Okay, I don't know a MAM that can. I haven't seen one. Granted, I haven't really looked, but I can only guess that the logic behind it would be pretty incredible. Because if you think about it, let's see, can we get a signal somewhere? An output. Okay. Oh yeah. If we go to F and then we take a look at, let's take a look at the basic shape here. Somehow, the computer would have to recognize, somehow the shape, the machine you build would have to recognize that these two layers are simply going to collapse on one another. Now, using the wires layer that we have, how can we do that? Now, I'm not saying it can't be done, but there is not a great deal of tools here to work with. Can you get this machine to recognize the fact that the layers that are being asked for would simply collapse on one another? That's a tough one. And so to answer your question, no, this thing cannot recognize a hanging layer shape and adjust itself. See, that's the other thing. Even once you recognize it, it has to recognize the problem, and it has to have the ability to solve the problem, to change its makeup so that it could solve the problem. And I don't yet know how to do that. I'm not saying it isn't possible. I'm just saying I don't yet know how to do it. Okay, let's take an overall look at this bloody machine. Look at this thing. You'll see that it is 32 lanes. If you follow these, it's 8 groups of 4 lanes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 8 such groups. And each color painter, each color mixer, automatic color mixer supplies 2 lanes. It feeds the paint, and you can see all the things are pretty much full. And let's see what's happening right at this moment. Okay, the signal coming in is cyan. Okay, now obviously white has been taxed on that one a lot. And is there any others? No. So if this thing gets a chance, it's going to have to start creating some white paint and try to keep up with that demand. Let's hope so. But I mean, it's gone hundreds of lanes. I've made this thing a long time ago, actually, and it's gone through a couple hundred levels, and it is kept up. Same with the shapes. So it's kept up. But the important thing to note is that this design isn't special compared to the previous design. The only thing that's changed is I'm using automatic color machines. I'm not sure that much more efficient, to be honest, but I'm using the color machines, the color mixers, automatic color mixers, to supply each pair of lanes. And each group here, each group of 4 works on half of a layer. Okay, so these 8 complete a single layer, and it's basically 2 of the MAM 3s, 3.0s in parallel. So if you can see, I've got like 4 groups of stackers working on the same layer. You see that? They're all working on the same layer, and they keep going and going. And you can see this circuit right here, the first group and the second group check each other's lanes to make sure that a layer is present using the OR gates, and then that lets them know, that lets the follow-on stackers know that they don't have to use the bypass lane, which we've talked about. I could go into that in great detail, but we've already done that. There's a video about it. I made it, and that explains how all that works. So I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty concepts, but I just had fun making this, and it's been really interesting. Let's see. Let's take a look at one of these. And what did I do here? Okay, that's every so often I'm tapping off the layer outputs. Each machine has a layer output that it's reading, and so it knows exactly what shapes are required, what color it needs. And in this case, you can see this is the bypass circuit, and apparently, let's see, am I right? Yeah, so right here, it's no color is needed, so it's taking color input from the color clock. I made a color clock for this thing up here. Oh, which tells me if this thing is making white, then this should start to fill up. Am I right? Yeah, I think it did. I think it filled up. Good. Excellent. Okay, cool. So let's go up to the color clock. I want to show you a little addition that I made. Okay, so it looks very familiar, just like the other one did. Now, I haven't touched this in a little while, but look how compressed the layer is. Look how compressed the convoy of paint, the row of paint, I call it a convoy, is. Every compression, any bit of expansion that it did, that it might have done before, is gone, and we're not getting the red lag like we were before. We're not getting the red conflicting signal thing like we were before. And this has done so with no input from me. How'd you do that, Eric? I'll show you. Let's take a look. Here's how it works. So, I set up this little rudimentary circuit here. This is just a gate that's constantly in the off or in the on position. So, normally it goes into the on position, or it stays in the on position. But let me it irritates me. I don't like there to be a whole lot of twists and turns in a circuit or in a belt. I want to keep the lines as long and straight as possible. When the paint hits this gauge right here, this sends a digital 1 signal. It sends an on signal. That signal goes to this NOT gate. This NOT gate shuts this filter. It shuts this gate off. So as soon as this detects paint, this gate shuts. And then the first bit of paint will hit this gate, and then it will stop. And it will stay stopped until the last bit of paint passes through this gate. When the last bit of paint passes through the gate, there's a little bit of a lag, and then by the time this thing turns on, the whole convoy will be stopped. I'm going to use the term convoy, just to think of it like a bunch of vehicles. The entire convoy will be stopped, which means it'll be recompressed. So any minuscule stretching that it did over the course of one circuit will be negated by this gate. Now let's watch this thing happen. Okay, it goes through. Now it's sending out a 1 signal, which sends out a 0, which is going to stop this gate. Now placement of this gauge in relation to this gate was very important. I wanted this thing to still be in the on position when this first bit of paint hits this gate. And we should see that. Yes? It's in the on position. Yes, it came to a full stop. The whole convoy came to a full stop before the lag on this thing. I mean, yes, when the paint hit this gate, this was already empty of paint. Paint hit this, the last bit of paint had already passed this, but there's a lag. And that lag did not kick in until the paint came to a complete stop. All paint bits were stopped and therefore compressed before this thing turned back on. So I placed this very carefully. It took a lot of trial and error, but it worked. And so now, every time this paint makes a circuit, again, such a pointless circuit, but it's fun. Every time this paint goes around, it gets recompressed, and then this, so that way we don't get crossed signals, you know what I mean? So there you go. That's how that works. Paint mixer is, that's a, those are shape stackers for feeding these things. And so let's see, what's kind of a signal is it getting right now? Still getting a gray signal, and so it's receiving this blue signal from here, and we should not see it turn red, because every time it turns red is a point where the machine doesn't know what to do. There it goes, a null signal, now it's yellow. Every time it turns red, that is a moment in time that the machine does not know what to do, and it's a waste of the machine's time and a waste of yours when it could be producing color. So I just wanted to eliminate that, especially if it's a problem that gets worse and worse and worse over time. You know what I mean? Okay, so now we've got a priority signal coming in, and it cuts off, it turns this transistor off, it cuts off the signal coming in from the clock in favor of cyan. So there you go. So yeah, there's the machine. Let's see, can we see it now? One thing I did do with this machine is I was very liberal with the use of filters. So I set up filters here and there to, I mean, I'm not going to explain these signals, but using stackers and unstackers, I was able to recreate what the shape should be based on what the hub was sending. So what's approved that comes out of this stacker should be two stacks, should be a two layers stacked together, and they should look a certain way. If they don't look like the currently requested layer, they're shunted to the trash. So what this does is this cleans all the old garbage out of the system, so that when the new layer starts to come through, it doesn't run into resistance. That's what we don't want. That's what we want. We want to remove any resistance from the old layers. They're just causing things to slow up, so we try to get them out of the system. So there's a set of layers right there, and where can we, or a set of filters. And in some places, like right here, I set up a couple of overflow gates, so that when they start to overflow, when things start to stack up, they get shunted to the trash. So it's just, again, it keeps things clean. And again, here's more layer filters, just checking what's going through, only allowing approved layers, keeps the belts clean. It also helps the PC run a little faster. So now I've got final checks right here. These are the approved layers. Again, it's another check for layers. Even though there's like a set of checks way up by the stackers, and the stackers are way the heck up here. Even though there's a set of filters checking that, I wanted to put another set down here just to clean these belts off, because the junk will be there. We just want to get it out of there. The computer will then not have to track it and think about it. And so anyway, so any layers that are existing right here past these gates are approved. They are approved layers. And finally, a shape check. The final shape goes through these filters right here, and they will only do so if they are approved. Otherwise, they get shunted to the trash. So let's see, what are we holding up? Okay, yep, that's coming through. So it takes a little while to warm up, as you can see. And this belt balancer splits up the outputs into 2 belts apiece. So we send 2 belts to the northeast quadrant of the hub, so that it feeds, and there's the saving of the game. So it feeds these 8 storage units, and the remaining 2 come down here to feed these 8 storage units. And then the 2 that come from the old MAM 3.0, instead of, I guess you could say 3.1 or 3.5, or, you know, you could call it MAM 4 if you want, because it's 4 lanes, but it's really not much of a change from the previous one. But these 2 lanes, each lane supplements a pair of lanes coming from the big MAM. Does that make sense? So this lane goes to the northeast, this one goes to the southwest, and they just supplement the incoming lanes. And then, as you can see, then they're coming in a lot faster than they did with just the 2. And you can see how much closer these are to each other on the belt. That should be an indication of our production increase. You know, we've got 6 full belts of this shape coming in. The response time, because this machine is so big, the inertia of trying to change from one shape to another, the shape-changing inertia of this machine is massive, so it does take time, and it covers a lot of distance. Even though the extreme corner down here is as close to the hub as it can possibly be, it still takes time. It covers a lot of space. But, again, these 6 lanes together, these 6 full belts of items being produced, still bogs the system down not even as bad. It doesn't even bog the system down as bad as MAM 2.0 did. I mean, really, look at that. MAM 1.0 was so terribly inefficient, and MAM 2.0, we got a full belt out of it, but I don't think the PC could handle one of those machines with the same dexterity that it's and the same smoothness that it's handling these 6 lanes. So that should be an indication of how awesome this MAM is. But okay, let's watch this thing happen. But also, I wanted to tell you, I told you about an announcement that I had. So our business has been super successful, very, very successful. So successful that we popped up on the Air Force's radar. Like, the Air Force headquarters noticed us, and the problem is they said, well, a lot of our products are Air Force heavy, and they looked at our products and said, well, you've got an Air Force logo as part of your product, and that's trademarked. So even though it's not like trademarking the Buffalo Bills or Green Bay Packers or some other professional privately owned entity. And the flush. Can we get a flush? But the Department of the Air Force, and thus the Space Force, okay, look at that, there it goes, such a great flush, and all the services actually require that their logo be used in a respectful, dignified way, which is totally understandable, and what we have done. But in order to do that, in order to verify that, they have to be able to monitor you, and you have to be in their licensing program. So, and there is actually a royalty. The Air Force actually does get a royalty for the use of it. It's not very much. It's a certain percentage of your profits, but we didn't know this. So the Air Force contacted us and said, look, this is a licensed trademark, and if you're going to use it, you have to be on our approved list, and we see that you're not. So we need you to apply, send in your information, and until you do get approval, you have to remove any Air Force products from your site. And because the Air Force makes up probably 90% of our sales, I mean, it's just the way it is. It's the smallest service. It, coupled with the Space Force, is the smallest service of the uniformed services. Marines might be smaller, but I mean, next would be the Air Force. Because of that, there we go, 506. We had to stop. We had to stop production. We had to take any Air Force items off our site, and that basically cut our income way, 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 way down. It's not cool at all. It pretty much gutted the business. So, and the approval process takes time. We went through this thing in the beginning where you have to actually ask to be in the program. And we sent them the information, and they finally got back to us and said, oh, yeah, we got your information, and yes, go ahead, send us your application, where you send in more detailed information. Like, your site looks good, congratulations. Now you have to jump through these hoops. And we are attempting to jump through those hoops. It includes even sending samples of our product to the licensing office down in Texas. So we're making some product to send to them. Just 2 items. We're just going to send them 2 items that represent our business. And then once we get approved, then we can put the Air Force approved sticker on it, and then but then of course we have to send them a small portion of our profits, which is not a big deal, but we have to do this, and it's going to take time, and because our income is pretty much destroyed because of it, I have to get a job. So yeah, one of us has to get a job, and that's going to be me because I'm the one with all the previous work record and certificates and stuff and degrees. My wife is working on her degree, but I also have 20 years of history working in the power industry, so I have the potential to make more money. So I am job hunting, and I have an interview tomorrow. And if I get the job, which I do believe I will, it's going to be shift work. It's going to be 4 days a week and then 4 days a week off. But 12-hour shifts, it looks like, of operating a power plant. And that power plant runs on garbage. It's kind of cool. Instead of leaving garbage in a landfill, we're actually taking it and burning it and then running the exhaust, all the burnt garbage, through a whole lot of scrubbers and filters, so super clean air comes out. And I can tell you that I know it sounds dirty, but that plant has been operating since 1975, and it has always exceeded the EPA's requirements. So I feel pretty good about it. It's as green energy as it can be without being green energy. The only true green energy is nuclear power and hydroelectric power, but I digress. But anyway, so what that means, why am I telling you all this? I don't know what it's going to mean for my video making ability and time. I don't know that I have a lot of time to make videos. I don't know what that's going to mean. So I want you guys to be aware of it. If videos dry up for a while, that might be why. I hope not. I'll keep trying. I mean, I have 4 days. But during those 4 days, I'm also going to be trying to keep the business alive. And if the Air Force does get back to us, then I see my workload going way up. Now, I'm not going to quit the job. I will keep running the job for a while. Could be years. I mean, we may find that we like the steady income coming in. I'm okay with shift work. It doesn't bother me. I'm used to it. I did it at the White House. I did it in Belgium in 01 to 03. And I did it in the last job I had, which was basically for the NSA. I'm okay with that. Shift work does not scare me at all. And the potential, and it's a lot of money. I mean, it's like 30 something an hour, and that's before overtime, but I'll likely get several hours of overtime every week. So I can stand that, especially living where we do, where the standard of living, the cost of living is pretty low. I'm good with that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'll let you all know, but I wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. But yeah, we have to put the business a little bit on hold, and it's not because of us. It's not because of failure. The business is doing gangbusters, or was until this happened. The business is super successful. As a matter of fact, it's my belief that we were ratted out, because this is something we didn't know. This trademark thing, we didn't know this, but somebody did. And when we found out about this shortcoming that we had, we did our research and found out that if you go to the Air Force's website, there is actually there's the flush, I love it. There is actually a list. There's a link to a list of all the approved companies that are now licensed to make products for the Air Force, and B, a report form where you can rat out people who aren't holding. So you can check the list. You see a company that's, say, doing really well and, let's say, theoretically competing against you. As we had a lot of companies out there that actually copied our products and tried to emulate us. But I really believe that when it comes to making shadow boxes for the Air Force, we were the go-to company. We still get a lot of inquiries, but legally we have to respond with, no, we can't make that for you because the Air Force has forbidden us from doing that. But we have been the go-to company. When people need Air Force shadow boxes, they come to us. And if we can't provide it for them, then they go to all the other pogues on Etsy. So I think somebody on Etsy wanted to cut us down and reported us to the Air Force, because that is something you can totally do with the tools that the Air Force gives you. So, but the joke's going to be on them when they see our product. I have every confidence they're going to look at it and say, holy crap, this stuff is tits. This stuff is awesome. So when they see that, then we're going to be back on the list, except this time we're going to be stronger. We're going to be approved by the Air Force, having that little license and the stickers that we can now put on our products. They were official Air Force approved product. And then they can go F themselves. Those people who ratted us out can go F themselves. I'm okay with that. And so it's a hiccup, and they can try to show over the next month or so when we're not in the mix that, oh, well, here we are. We're an alternative to Full Metal Jacket. And yeah, well, they're going to have about 2 or 3 months of that before we come back on the show and say, hey, you little piece of crap, get out of here. Just go. Just the adults are talking here. Get your little piece of crap product out of here. Because that's what it is. I'm sorry. I've seen their products. And I'm not one to say that I'm the best woodworker in the world, but there's a lot less talented woodworkers out there, and a lot of them are making Air Force products. Just saying. And they're not on the list either. We look on Etsy and we see they're not on the list. They're not on the official list. But here's the thing. When you look up that person and you see that when you look up information about that company and you see, you know, about this person, you see, oh, he's a, Joe is a retired Air Force vet, or, Steve, whatever his name is, tech sergeant, blah, blah, blah. He's a retired Air Force, da, 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 trying to make a go of it. And he and his wife started this business. I'm not going to rat on a fellow vet. I don't even care if the guy ratted on me. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to, snitches get stitches as far as I'm concerned. And we vets have each other's back. That's all there is to it. Okay? Even though you should have mine and you ratted me out, I'm still going to have yours, but I'm not going to cut you any breaks. I'll look out for you, but we're gonna run our business, and if we steamroll over you and your inability to keep up, that isn't my problem. Okay? Really, seriously, we have these people call us up like, oh, how are you able to ship that product at such a low price? How are you able to do that? And I'm like, you know what? We spent years figuring that shit out. You figure it out. We figured it out. You can figure it out. So, I used to... When I used to watch content creators respond to people's questions like, how do you get good sound? What do you do with your sound? What do you do with video editing? How do you do this? How do you do that? And those are all questions that I have. How do you get such awesome sound? B-Dubs just has this great... I love his sound, and of course he's got a great voice for it, and his video editing. And I would just love to destroy him with questions, just like, oh, dude, I know his real name. I'd love to look him up via that way. Just hit him with a whole bunch of questions. But in reality, then I become the person that drives me nuts when we run our business. We have people asking those same questions of us in our business, and I just want to like, dude, we figured it out. You go figure it out. And then I kind of look at myself in the mirror and think, oh, yeah, so I'm not going to ask B-Dubs all these questions or anybody else. So anyway... yeah, I just wanted to pass that on to you guys. So I don't know what our schedule is going to look like in the future. Couldn't tell you. We will see. I'll let you know. I'm interviewing for the job tomorrow. Okay, that's not a guarantee that I'll get it, but I'm pretty confident that I will. The fact they even talked compensation with me in the pre-interview process, which you don't do that to people. You don't talk compensation. Unless they have the job, at least that's my understanding. But in any case, so I think my resume is pretty awesome. I mean, I've been to the White House, I've been to NATO, I have done everything they would want me to do on a huge scale, and I can't imagine there's anybody else with a resume that can beat that. They couldn't even find anybody in Baltimore to beat my resume when I worked for the other company that I worked for. So I feel pretty confident that here in New Hampshire, I can I can be on top. But let's see. We'll find out. But yeah, I'll let you know how it goes. Thank you if you've watched this far. Oh, here's another thing. If you take a look at a list of my videos, I love the Create mod, and I'm going to keep doing it in Minecraft. I love the Create mod. But the Create mod and Minecraft is a saturated market on YouTube. And there's the flush, yes. And if you look at my videos, even though I love making those Minecraft and Create Mod videos, they don't do particularly well. But you know what does do well? Are these shapes.io videos, which is crazy. It's such a simple game, but I guess not that many people play it. But it's a niche game. And because it's a niche game, not many people are out there making videos about it. Certainly not nearly as much as for Minecraft. And of course, people see Minecraft videos, they want to make Minecraft videos. So there's not that many people wanting to do it for shapes, and the people that are very dedicated people who watch it, very dedicated people who make them, and as a result, I've kind of earned myself a little bit of a reputation, so enough so that I release a video and it gets a lot of views. So, Factorio and Minecraft are not going away, but I can't deny the fact that a lot of people want to see these shapes videos, so if I can find a reason to make them, I'll make them, you know? So, that's why you've seen a bunch of them here recently. These seem to do a whole lot better than the Minecraft and Factorio videos, so if I can teach you guys something, and a lot of people will watch it, I'll do it. So, but anyway, I hope you found all this interesting, and my rant, my update and all that jazz. Hope you found it interesting, and I hope you found some interesting material here with this MAM 4.0, if you want to call it that. And if you like what you see, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the Discord if you haven't already. Love to see you there. And y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao.
Thank you.